What is up, guys? Mikey McNuggets here. We could not get our schedules aligned for a behind the glass tonight or last night. We apologize for that, but there's some stuff going on with some people on the staff that they'd take care of. No issues, but they'd take care of some stuff. So I did want to hop on tonight because there wasn't a behind the glass and touch on two things real quick. What we know about Denzel Ward, why it's important, and what to think about tomorrow as we continue to learn more information about this new mysterious injury. And two, the AllPro teams get announced tomorrow. Not the players vote, but the legitimate AllPro teams. How many Browns will be on there? We know it'll be Myles Garrett, or it damn well should be Myles Garrett. And who will be joining him, if anyone. But let's start with the Denzel Ward thing real quick, guys. So, full picture story. Then we'll get to why it matters, what it means, and how it'll affect Saturday. But Denzel Ward has been the Browns' Pro Bowl cornerback this season. He's one of the better cornerbacks in all of the NFL. A lockdown man coverage guy who is a bit fragile. You can go through his injury history. He certainly had his fair share of concussions. He had the shoulder injury earlier this season. He missed the game against Pittsburgh. I believe he missed the game against the Rams and Denver as well. They lost 2 of those 3 games. The pass defense is not anywhere near as good without Denzel Ward as it is with Denzel Ward, and that makes sense. He's the best cornerback on the team, and when you take the best pass coverage guy, especially their best man coverage guy, out of the equation, it opens up opportunities for the opposing quarterback. So Denzel did not play in the Week 18 game against the Bengals, excuse me. He was just making sure his body was fully prepared and geared up for the postseason. Now, he was a full participant in practice on Monday, a full participant in practice, or Tuesday, excuse me, full participant on Wednesday. And then today, just as we were about to wrap up the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show at about 12:58, news comes out that Denzel hurt his knee in practice today. He is questionable for the game on Saturday, And Kevin Stefanski, when asked about it, said, it's up in the air. I'm not sure if he'll be able to play. So that was the initial report. The other thing that came out of the initial report on Denzel Ward was he was a limited participant in practice. Now, I looked at it one way and Bull looked at it the other way. We still don't have any clarity on who was right or what the real situation was. But when I heard limited in practice, I interpreted that as Denzel started practice, just like he had the last 2 days, injured his knee in some capacity, and then sat out the rest, making the overall participation in said practice limited. The way Bull read it was that because of the knee injury, whenever it was sustained, he was able to finish practice just on a limited basis. We have not had any clarity to which way is right, which way is wrong, what really happened, how he injured his knee, how severe the knee injury is. Will he play? Those answers are all up in the air. We're still trying to figure out exactly what is going on. But about an hour after Kevin Stefanski spoke and said he wasn't sure about Denzel's status for Saturday, we got a tweet from Ian Rapoport, who said Denzel hurt his knee in practice. He's listed as questionable, but says he'll be good to go on Saturday. So that's good news, we think. Whenever you get a report, especially from a national guy, Schefter or Rapoport or Albert Breer, any of the big guys out there, you got to take into consideration who that information is coming from. Now, the Browns said, we're not sure. Someone in Denzel's camp tells Ian Rapoport he'll be good to go. I don't know for a fact. I'm just guessing using my media knowledge and how a lot of this stuff works. I'm assuming Denzel's agent texted Port, however it was, and said, yeah, Denzel will be good. Now, if Denzel had a history of being a non-injury plagued player, I feel a lot better about that initial I'm good text that Ian Rapoport put out. But considering Denzel's injury-plagued history, which is pretty much the only knock on his entire career. When he plays, he's been fantastic. Last season, a bit of a down year, but other than 2022, he's been one of, if not a top 2-3 cornerback in all of football since essentially the day he was drafted out of Ohio State. The dude, when he plays, is elite. I mean, talk about a guy who can erase an opposing number 1 off the field, and you don't have to worry about Denzel versus whoever. That's the caliber of cornerback Denzel Ward is. But the fact that whatever happened today, he hurt his knee in some capacity, serious, minor, we don't know. He's listed as questionable. He has a history of being a bit fragile. Just because Ian Rapoport says Denzel will be okay, I'm just not fully buying it yet. I need to see how his body responds to practice tomorrow. Knee injuries can be weird. You could tweak it. You could retweak it. It can swell up. You need to rest it sometimes. So without the actual knowledge and clarity of what Denzel did to his knee, I'm not running with this Ian Rapoport tweet that says Denzel will be okay as the gospel. I hope he's right. Like, I very much hope Denzel is in uniform come Saturday, the Houston Texans. I'll explain why he's so important to what the Browns want to do defensively here in just a minute. But just because Ian Rapoport says that, I'm not taking that as the end-all, be-all. First off, I mean, we all know how often players, coaches, front office personnel, people lie to the media. It's what they do. It's part of their job to deceive and to not give away anything. And from Kevin Stefanski and the Browns standpoint, of course you want the Texans to think Denzel's playing. That changes everything if Denzel's out. So even if Kevin Stefanski was a little more hesitant in saying, I'm not sure, if he was seriously hurt and you knew he wasn't going to play, you probably wouldn't say he's out yet. You'd probably say he's questionable. We'll reevaluate the next day, and we'll reevaluate on Saturday to make a game time decision. So he says he's playing, whether that's a smokescreen by his agent, someone in his camp to make the Texans have to prepare as if Denzel Ward is playing. Whether he truly is okay, who knows? I'm just waiting to see him tomorrow in practice, see how he's moving around pregame to make a final determination on whether or not Denzel will be in the lineup for the Browns on Saturday against the Texans. And here's why Denzel is so crucial, and I mean crucial, to what the Browns and Jim Schwartz want to do against this Texans offense. It comes down to two numbers, or I guess really three, depending on how you look at it. First off, Denzel Ward has the second lowest passer rating against this entire season. The second lowest of any cornerback. These are just cornerbacks, not safeties, not linebackers. Of all cornerbacks, he is the second lowest passer rating against when targeted. First lowest, by the way, is Martin Emerson. Browns at the top two. That's pretty damn good. Yeah, MJ, you're up next, by the way, bud, if Denzel can't go. But there's a reason I'm bringing up Denzel's number here. It's like a 47.6 passer rating against when they're targeting Denzel Ward. The Browns have played cover one, man one, whatever terminology you want to use, 39% of the time this season. 39%, so 4 out of every 10 plays, they're in some sort of cover one, man coverage, 2 deep, 1 deep, whatever, but essentially man coverage, man-to-man on the outside. C.J. Stroud ranks 20 among all qualified quarterbacks. There's 40 of them, 27-40 in total QBR against man coverage. The Browns love to run man coverage. C.J. struggles against man coverage. Denzel is their best man coverage cornerback. Against zone coverages this year, C.J. Stroud is not 27th. Number 1 overall against zone coverage in terms of total QBR this season. He goes from a 76.2 here. Let me make sure I get you the exact numbers. But he goes from a 70-something, as I pull it up here, I apologize. I thought I had it memorized, but apparently I don't. Against zone coverage, number 1 in the NFL, a 73.9 QBR. Against man coverage, a 38.8, nearly a 40-point drop-off from zone coverage to man coverage. Now, that's pretty typical for a rookie quarterback, but if that tells you anything, it's that zone coverage may not be your best bet to beat the Houston Texans. You're going to have to man up Ward, Newsome, Emerson on Collins, Brown, and whoever else, Robert Woods, whoever else they put out there, John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, Dalton Schultz, man-on-man coverage, and I'm taking the Browns guys over the Texans all day, especially if Denzel Ward's there. He's their best cover corner, especially in man. Now, here's where Nico Collins comes into play. Nico Collins, the Texans' number 1 receiver, who, by the way, I know one season is not enough of a body of work to crown somebody, but Nico Collins had an unfreaking believable season. We talk about Amari Cooper being a Pro Bowler, a possible All-Pro, which we'll get to in one sec. Nico Collins, in the same amount of games, he also missed 2 games, had more catches, yards, and touchdowns than Amari Cooper. Like, crazy. He's not better than Amari Cooper, but we don't talk about him in the same class that we talk about Amari Cooper. And if you look at the stats, he's up there. Enough about Nico Collins. What makes him special is he's 6'4", and he destroys man coverage. We talked about lowest passer rating against. Denzel Ward was second. Nico Collins had the number 1 rated passer rating for when targeted against man coverage. The passer rating for quarterbacks, whether it was Keenum or C.J. Stroud, when they targeted Nico Collins in man coverage, 151.6. That was number 1 in the NFL. Nico Collins is 6'4". He's 215. He runs a 4.4. Physical specimen. Not sure how he fell to the 3rd round, but I heard a report that he was the guy Andrew Berry wanted in the 3rd round. He went 2 picks before the Browns were on the clock. The Browns ended up with Anthony Schwartz. Imagine Nico Collins in this offense, guys. That would be a terrifying thought for opposing defenses. But nevertheless, Denzel Ward's going to be the guy matched up with Nico Collins on the outside in man-to-man coverage for most of the day, and at least in the crucial situations. Emerson and Newsome, they can hold their own against him, don't get me wrong. But if you're going to have someone shut him down, and if CJ has time to throw, Denzel Ward gives it your best chance. So here's what we know. Denzel's questionable. CJ's much better against zone than he is against man. The Browns play a ton of man coverage, including that Week 16 matchup against the Texans when Case Keenum was the quarterback, but I'm not looking too much into that. And Nico Collins is as good of a receiver as any, at least in terms of QB rating when targeted and PFF grades against man coverage. What does that mean? It means Denzel versus Nico is going to be a hell of a matchup on Saturday, and I want to see it. And if he's not in uniform, I'm talking about Denzel Ward, it means everyone has to slide over. Martin Emerson, still a good man-to-man coverage guy, but he's not Denzel Ward. And the one place that Emerson has struggled this season has been getting beat deep. DK Metcalf got him deep once. Calvin Ridley, when they played Jacksonville, got him on a couple middle-range routes. Now, he had 2 picks that game. He was phenomenal. But if you're going to beat MJ Emerson, it's beat him off the line, get him deep. Nico Collins, one of the best, quickest releases in the NFL and has more catches over 30 yards than everyone not named Tyreek Hill in the entire NFL this season. So it just creates a little bit of a mismatch and a little bit of one-on-one coverage. I don't even want to call them problems. Like, I'm not freaking out if Denzel's not playing, but it certainly helps to have him. But it just creates a little more confusion, and you have to be a little more sound schematically if Denzel's not in uniform for the Browns. But just again to recap, Denzel hurt his knee in practice today. It's a new injury. It's not the shoulder injury he's been dealing with. This is a brand new knee injury. No word on exactly what happened, how it happened, when it happened, whether it was contact, non-contact. We have literally no information on that. Kevin Stefanski was asked, what's his status? He said he's listed as questionable, up in the air for play on Saturday. Ian Rapoport tweeted an hour later, that Denzel said he's good to go. We'll see. We'll see. I need to see Friday's practice before I make any determination on whether or not I'm confident Denzel will be in uniform for the Browns against the Texans. And if he's not, still picking the Browns to win, but I do think it creates a couple matchup, I don't even want to call them mismatches, but matchup headaches. Not migraines, just like, I would have liked it to be this way a little better. I think Denzel's your best option on Nico Collins. MJ and Newsome can certainly hold their own, but Denzel's on a level of his own when it comes to the Browns secondary. All right, second part of this real quick. The All-Pro team in the NFL gets announced on Friday. I don't know what time. Honestly, I wish I did. I tried looking it up. I couldn't find a time these teams will be released, but it happens tomorrow. The players had voted on their All-Pro teams, and 2 Browns made the list. That list came out on Wednesday. Myles Garrett was one of the 2 first-team edge rushers. And mind you, they do positions edge rusher, nose tackle, defensive tackle, nose tackle, defensive tackle separate. And there's 2 off-ball linebackers for the JOK spot. JOK is not technically in the TJ Watt, Myles Garrett category like he is in the Pro Bowl here. So Myles Garrett was a first-team All-Pro voted on by the players, and Joe Bitonio was tied with Tyler Smith for the first-team left guard spot. Now, this next one is voted on by coaches, media, and front office personnel, I believe. I'm actually not 100% sure on that, and I probably should know, but I believe it's coaches, media, and player personnel. Myles Garrett should be a lock. If he's not, we ride. I still think, despite the traditional box score numbers, despite what Bill Barnwell said this week, despite what I think might happen because voters are silly, Myles Garrett's the defensive player of the year, the best defensive player in the league, should absolutely be a first-team All-Pro, no questions asked. After that, guys, I was going through the list. I would be shocked if the Browns had another first-team All-Pro this year. I don't see it. The list of guys who made the Pro Bowl, which is at least a good place to start. You had Amari Cooper at receiver. Amari had a great season. There's only 2 receiver spots. He's not getting it over Tyreek Hill. He's not getting it over CeeDee Lamb. Those are the 2 guys that made the player vote. I'd be shocked if they're not the 2 guys who make the All-Pro team. I don't know how. Maybe second team, maybe he squeaks in there, but I don't think he's one of the 4 receivers that end up with the All-Pro honors. Honestly, you look at the rest of the guys, like I'll pull up the receiving numbers list real quick. On the second team, they put, it was CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill, and you go to the receiving stats on ESPN, and it's not all about receiving yards, but they're just, some receivers put up some absurd numbers this season. I can't. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown, You have A.J. Brown. Amari St. Brown had 300 more yards, 5 more touchdowns. Mike Evans had 13 touchdowns and more yards. Like I just can't see a way that Amari Cooper slides in there as the one of the 4 all-pro receivers, despite the fact he's had a tremendous season. You go to the tight end position, and this is one I really wanted to see if David Njoku could somehow fit into the tight end position group here, but I think it's going to be tough, guys. I really think it's going to be tough. So Travis Kelce was the player's vote for first-team All-Pro. George Kittle was the second-team tight end. You look at the numbers. Travis Kelce finished second in the NFL for all tight ends with receiving yards, 984. That's 102 yards more than David Njoku. Evan Ingram also than David Njoku. Tito had more receiving yards than David. George Kittle had 1,020 yards. That's 198 more receiving yards than David Njoku. And George Kittle is regarded as the best blocking tight end in all of football. He had the same amount of touchdowns. I think he's a lock for one of the 2 tight end spots. Njoku had a great season, 81 catches, 882 yards, 6 touchdowns. He averaged 11 yards per reception, led all tight ends in yards after catch for the position, but only 2 guys get in. And you know Kelce's getting in. It's a vote. Like, he's getting in. He's one of the spots, right or wrong. He technically had a better season than Njoku, even though I think Njoku's better at this point. It's Kelce, and George Kittle had 1,000 yards, 90 receptions, or 65 receptions, so less catches than Njoku for more yards and the same amount of touchdowns on the number 1 seed in the NFC. I just don't know how the math works out. Only 2 tight ends get in, and it's probably going to be Kittle. It's probably going to be Travis Kelce as the top 2. Let's go to Joe Bitonio at left guard. What's crazy? I know Bitonio got the player vote. Wyatt Teller had a better season than Joe Bitonio this season. Like, Wyatt Teller, if any guard from the Cleveland Browns is going to make an all-pro roster, it should be Wyatt Teller. The fact that he wasn't even one of the first team or second team player vote all-pro guards makes me feel like what he's done this season is flying under the radar. And if the players, I don't want to say they don't appreciate, but if they don't put him in the same stratosphere as some of the other guys, and interior offensive line play guys is damn near impossible to fully watch if you're not watching, or to fully evaluate if you're not watching every team week in and week out. And you would hope the guys voting on this award are doing that. And if they are, then I think Teller has a damn good case to be a second-team All-Pro. A damn good case. He's been really the steady point of this Browns offensive line that's been in complete flux. I'm pretty sure he's the only Browns offensive lineman that's played all 17 games. We know Pochich missed games. Their tackles have been a rotating carousel of characters. Joel Bitonio had his consecutive start streak snapped midseason. So, yeah, I think Wyatt Teller is the only one that's played all 17 games. He has, in my opinion, I think, the best chance out of any offensive player to be named to one of the 2 all-pro teams. On the defensive side of the ball, pencil in Myles Garrett. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. Done. He's in. No questions asked. Then you go to weak side linebacker, which is where JOK comes into play. And there are 4 weak side linebackers who end up making the all-pro team. 2 on the first team, 2 on the second team. The players voted for Fred Warner and Roquan Smith to be the first team all-pros on the player vote. And I cannot disagree that those 2 have had a better statistical season than JOK. JOK has been freaking awesome. Unreal. Best season of his career by far. He's going to get a giant contract extension this offseason, and he deserves every damn penny that he will get. But he's not better at this point than those 2. He had a better season than those 2, so he's not a first-team All-Pro. However, you look at the second-team All-Pro candidates, and I think JOK's got a real case, guys. JOK, let me pull up the numbers here just to make sure I have this exactly right. I do not want to do JOK a disservice by Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa. ESPN's search feature sucks. But on the season, JOK, 101 tackles, 3.5 sacks, a forced fumble, 2 interceptions, 6 passes defended, 21.5 run stuffs, and he leads the NFL for linebackers in tackles for loss. That's an all-pro season. It may not be a Pro Bowl season because the NFL can't differentiate an edge rusher from an off-ball linebacker properly, and that's on you, NFL. But it's an all-pro caliber season. Abso-freaking-lutely. And it's a position around the league that doesn't have a ton of guys putting up eye-popping numbers like that. The fact he has the run stuffs, the fact he has the TFLs, the sacks, 2 interceptions and 6 passes defended, and if you want to go to the advanced analytics, he crushes the PFF grade test, and His passer rating against in coverage, by far the best of his career and in the top 10 of all qualified off-ball linebackers. If you're asking me, if anyone has a chance to make the second team All-Pro alongside Myles Garrett, if I had to put my money on one player to be a second team All-Pro other than Myles Garrett, it wouldn't be JOK. I'll tell you one in a sec. JOK would be third on that list. He'd be third. I'll tell you who's number 2 in one sec. You go to the cornerbacks. Like I said, Denzel's been awesome this season. He's been phenomenal, great, but he's missed too many games to be an All-Pro. Other guys have just played 17 or 16 games who are the same numbers on equally as good defense. I can't imagine Denzel makes the All-Pro. And here's where my pick, the best chance for a Brown not named Myles Garrett to make the All-Pro team. It won't be first team. It should be second team, and that's Dustin Hopkins. I know he missed the last 2 games of the season. I don't give a rat's ass. He has been the second best kicker in football this year by any metric you want to look at, and I will hear no argument otherwise. Brandon Aubrey, the kicker for the Cowboys, is the first team All-Pro kicker. If he's not, it's a travesty. He is 10 for 10 on 50-yard field goals, 36 of 38 on the season. He leads the NFL in points. He's your first team kicker. Dustin Hopkins is your second team kicker. 8 of 8 from 50 plus, 33 of 36 on the season. He's missed 2 extra points. Who gives a damn? Dustin Hopkins, maybe the best trade Andrew Berry's made as his tenure as the Browns general manager, should be the second team All-Pro kicker this season. If it's Justin Tucker, if it's Cameron Dicker, if it's someone else, the voters messed up. You heard it here first. The voters will have damn messed up because there's 2 kickers that are leagues above everyone else this season. And it's not just the numbers. Yeah, Cameron Dickers has been phenomenal. He hasn't missed many kicks, but look at the clutch factor. Look at the time, distance, and when those kicks went in, the conditions. And outside of Brandon Aubrey, there's been nobody better this year than Dustin Hopkins. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this solo edition of Behind the Glass. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We're back tomorrow. It is playoff eve. Wild Card Eve on Friday. A massive 11 to 12:30 YouTube show. Another giant 12:30 to 1 WKYC show. We'll see you there on McNuggets. Peace.